I am expecting Krista, but she usually comes right at the top of the hour.
Oh, I see. Yep, yeah, I saw it when you were here, but I was. It's right in front of me.
Thanks, everybody. Please, good evening and welcome to the regularly scheduled September meeting of the Orono Planning Board. First item on the agenda is a roll call. With us tonight is Lisa Buck, myself, Mark Kittredge, a new member, Jason Charlin, welcome, Judd McIntosh, Michael Costello, and David Thompson, and we are hopefully going to see Krista Schwintzer join us here any minute now as well. Second item on the agenda is an acceptance of the agenda. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved. Oh.
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any additions, deletions?
Chairman, the only thing I want to, it's not exactly part of the agenda, but we do have the recording plan for the Edgewood Orchard Trails for signature, and 5 of you voted on that plan, and you 5, I need you to sign in a particular order after the meeting, or at the end of this meeting.
And that's all we got for the agenda. Okay, all those in favor of the agenda? Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of July 15th, 2015. Can we get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I was not present, so I can't participate in this conversation, but does anybody have anything to add, change, delete, modify? No? All set? Okay. All of those in favor, who were here for the meeting of July 15th, and in favor of the minutes as presented? Did you get that?
Yes.
Fourth item on the agenda is a public hearing. Tonight, we're going to review a site plan request by, yep. Anybody got a clue?
Go for it.
Yeah, thanks. Can you help me?
Spell it.
Buzz?
Buzz Puss LLC, who wish to construct a 1,264 square foot addition for a sit-down restaurant and a bar to the rear of their existing building located at 154 Park Street, tax map 20-1, lot 35 in the C2 zone, and forgive my inability to pronounce that correctly. So with that, if we could have somebody or a representative of the applicant come forward and kind of give us kind of a rundown on what we're looking at here.
Before that, Mark.
Well, I guess I.
So I just want to let you know that Costa and Kelly are acquaintances of mine and tenants of mine.
Okay.
So there is a business relationship there of sorts. I don't have, I feel like I can be impartial. I don't have an issue with it, but I wanted to bring it to light. If you have an issue with it, I can step aside, whatever you prefer.
So your relationship with them is as tenant and landlord and nothing to do with
Nothing to do with this, correct?
business? that's
Correct.
being-
Nothing to do with this business, correct?
Okay. And as you stated, you don't feel like you'd be totally impartial. Anybody on the board
I'm okay.
Have any concern with Judd staying on? Does the applicant have any concern with Judge rendering a decision in this case? Okay. Well, then, all those in favor of Judd being a voting member and hearing and participating in this application? Thank you, Judd. I'm sorry, please.
No problem. Good evening. I'm Sean Thies with CES, representing the applicant tonight. So they're here before you for a 1,264 square foot addition to their existing building, which is it's currently the Orono House of Pizza on Park Street. One-story addition where they wanted to add some sit-down areas at the back and also a small bar area. As part of that, we're showing some improvements to the site. A lot of the site now, it's all open out to Park Street, so people come directly in off the street right now and park right at the front of the building, and then access can be an issue because they're backing out directly into Park Street. So as part of this project, we tried to make some improvements to that access. Essentially, we've closed off the front with an entrance here on the northwest side, full entrance exit. People to come in, and added parking, paved and striped parking for customers. And then on the back, there's some areas for employees. And on the side here, it's laid out for employee parking, but that's really for their delivery drivers. So the way the circulation works, all customers come in on this side, enter and exit here. The delivery drivers would come around and line up on the opposite side of the building. And as one leaves, then the next one can pull forward, and when they come back, they sort of get to the back of the line and keep circulating through on that side. So all this area on the side over here is for the deliveries. There's an area for enclosing the dumpster out back. We've added landscaping in the front. In order to make these changes to the entrances, there's an existing fire hydrant located right where we're proposing this entrance. So we've proposed to move that over in front of the building here, where we're adding a new sidewalk across the front, also a new walkway off of that sidewalk to come into the front of the building. The majority of the site is already gravel. There's some pavement on the front, but then a gravel impervious surface on the back as well as on the side. So there's not a great deal of impact as far as new impervious area to the site, and we've addressed that through our submission. In order to make the expansions on each side, because the site is so tight, the applicant has a easement agreement with the abutting property owners to, one, on this side, it's to shed water across their property, which essentially it goes in that direction now. But it comes down to a catch basin here, and then also on the other side to shed some water off and to share the landscaping, and to encroach on the, I guess, what would be the setback requirement for parking, but the easement allows them to get closer to the property line. Utility services are staying the same. It's the same water and sewer service coming into the existing building. So any additions to that would all be internal to the building addition. We've got one handicap parking here for the main entrance coming into the building addition. And I think that's it.
Any proposed changes to signage or?
No proposed changes to signage. The only exterior lighting is some wall packs on the building. There's no I guess you'd say parking lot type light fixtures are on poles out around the site. It's a pretty small site, and the wall packs should provide the adequate lighting to keep that area safe.
Thank you. On the stormwater, and the application notes, and I think the information the board has received from the town's review suggests that the impacts are minor and everything. Can you just kind of, I mean, you kind of indicated already that the water goes in certain directions.
Yep.
And there is a minor increase in flow rates, peak flow rates.
Yes.
Do those basically follow the same existing patterns
Yes.
that are there now?
So, right now, the site's pretty flat, and it generally slopes away from both sides of the building. And what we've done on the addition here is sort of the same way. We made a high point in the back part of the lot and directed the water around both sides. So on this side, it comes around and down into this swale, over to the catch basin. Here, it goes off into the grass area between the two properties.
Okay, and
And
essentially the water ends up in the street and goes
Storm
into
drain
the
system,
storm drains in
essentially,
the
yeah.
street.
Yeah, the main addition of, I guess, where you'd see new impervious areas out here in the back, which comes over this way.
Okay. And how many seats are proposed for the new addition?
It's 48 seats total, I believe.
Okay. And the traffic generation as a result of that increase is?
It's minimal. Can't remember what exactly the number was, but it was included in our application. There's a small increase for adding those seats, but nothing that would trip any sort of traffic movement permit or anything like that with DOT.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody else have anything immediate right in front of them that they saw that they wanted to get a quick piece of information on?
When you said the delivery drivers are on the one side, can the customers go out that side too if they were headed
No.
that direction? Is there a signage or something that says delivery only?
We
See how
haven't
your
we
arrow
haven't
goes that
shown
way?
any signage. I mean, that's something that could be added. It's I guess it's not striped, or there's nothing preventing people, I guess, from going that way or signage. When you get around to this way, there's most likely there's going to be cars double parked too wide here, so it's going to be blocked. That if a customer tried to go that way, they wouldn't be able to get out that way at most times if
There'd
there
be a
were.
way to back up and
So yeah, if they got around there and saw that they couldn't, they'd have to back into here and then come back around. But
So maybe an employees only sign or something
yeah,
would
it
prevent
could
that?
be something that employees only, either signage or painted on the.
I noticed in our information that we received, there was a letter from Henry Vaughn of the fire department, and he asked a couple of questions. He said the plans must show how that back exit door from the stairway will be protected from vehicles blocking the door from opening, also to protect anyone exiting through this door from getting struck by a vehicle, and number two, the plans must show the location of the natural gas entrance and meter and how it will be protected from mechanical damage. Can you just go through?
Yeah.
I don't recall seeing it addressed elsewhere.
The natural gas line comes in to this side of the building. There's a ramp right there where they essentially when they bring supplies into the kitchen, they're accessed that way. This whole area, the striping here on the back, originally the plan, which I think what his concerns were based on, showed pavement. Well, this shows pavement right up to the building, but there was no, essentially the travel lane for people driving through was right against the building. So the concern was people opening the door into a car or something like that. So this design has it striped away with the lane pushed out, so there's a 5-foot buffer essentially between the building and the travel lane for the door to swing out.
Where is the door? I didn't see it specifically on the plan.
It's, right now it was laid out in the middle of the building, but based on this layout, we shrunk down the expansion size. So we're still working on some of the interior, how that layout is exactly gonna be.
Okay.
So the door location could be adjusted depending on how that layout is.
But it will be along that
Along that back side.
5 foot
Yeah.
width, okay. Very good. Anybody got anything else before I,
Yeah, the number of parking spaces, I think it's 15, not 16. In the plan.
15?
Well, it's got 3, 4, 7, and 8, and 15. isn't
And then there's 6.
it? Those are employees, employees are in the back, and that shows.
So there's 15 here, 3 on the back, and 6 on this side.
So the ones in the back says employee parking.
That,
Yes.
that counts.
One short to me.
Yeah, in the ordinance, I mean, it's a good question, good point. In the ordinance, the number of parking spaces is a combination of requirements based on seats for customers and employees.
With a single number and no
It's an overall number, you add it all up, and it doesn't have to be specifically this many for employees and specifically this many for customers, it's one, becomes one total.
Okay. And as you stated, on the
Okay, if that's the case, then it's right.
And on the northern side, they are essentially filling that lane, double parked
On
on that side.
the
yes.
east side, yes. Yeah.
If I, Mr. Chairman, so by my calculation, most of those 6 spaces could be single file. I think there's room for probably at least 5 cars, taking 18 to 20 foot. They'd probably be right close to each other because
Yes.
they're just queued up.
Right.
So using an 18-foot depth, I think you've got, 5 would take up 90 feet. And I think that depth, so most of them would be single file, and I would certainly encourage single file if possible, in
That
case
would be-
somebody had to get around.
That would be preferred, so in case one of them needs to get out and the other one's
Right.
still there, at least they could pull out and around.
Or if there was a crash in your other entrance, 2 cars came
Yeah.
together and crashed right there, everybody would be blocked in. at
Right.
that point. Okay. Good question, thank you, David. All right, thank you.
Sure.
Evan, if you don't mind, would you go through your information that you...
Yes, Sean has covered a lot of it, of course. I'm getting an echo feedback here, I don't know, can you hear me okay? This is a single-story addition of just under 1,300 square feet. They've gone through several iterations in conversation with us and the fire department and others. One of the really important things here is that they did secure this easement agreement from Mr. Cross, the managing partner of the 2 adjacent properties, which enables them to do what they need with respect to parking, circulation, buffers, and drainage. There are 2 dumpsters in the rear corner. Sean, you might just point where those are. They'll be screened. There are dumpsters there now. There's a dumpster there now. These will be in a screened area, slightly relocated. Pedestrian access. Mandy and Rob reviewed this, and the respondents the applicants have responded with the proper ADA transitions between the sidewalk and the relocated driveway. There is one driveway on the northwest side that where the sidewalk beyond OHOP property will not be affected. So there is, that already has access, the access ramp and the sidewalk, but the other 3 transitions are shown as requested by Mandy and Rob. They are building I think it's about 60 feet of new sidewalk and curbing, and will be using a slip form concrete curb as Rob and Mandy have requested. They estimate, CES estimates that the cost of the sidewalk will be about $5,000. And it is a public improvement. We will be looking for an improvement guarantee for that. And just to explain, an improvement guarantee is a mechanism by which the town, if for some reason the public improvement is not properly installed, the town can use those funds to install it. That rarely, if ever, happens, but the money is then returned to the property owner once the improvement is in and inspected. The fire hydrant was located in the place that Fire Marshal Henry Vaughn has requested. This pushes it a little bit to the northwest, which helps with the spacing of hydrants along Park Street. So that's good. I should note that this is a non-conforming lot in the commercial 2 district. If this were a brand-new lot, it would have to be 40,000 square feet. This is about 1/3 of an acre, and but it is legally non-conforming, and the expansion itself meets all the standards, all the dimensional requirements for that district, and is allowed by our ordinance. You asked about trips. What CES reported was an annual, a daily average during the week of about 167 trips. As important is the peak, what happens during the peak hour. And according to the manual published by the International Institute of Transportation Engineers, I would estimate that it'd be around 30 to 31 during the peak hour. That does not trigger any analysis or permit requirements. Many of those will be so-called captured traffic that's coming by anyways, and they're just stopping in, so it's not new traffic into the system. Only probably a relatively small percentage will be new traffic in the system. Very importantly are these driveways. They did a good job. This took a couple of iterations for them to think through how they could do it, but they've done a good job, in my view, of improving the situation. Right now, it's a sharp, more than a 90-degree left-hand turn into the gravel parkway, and most people just park in front and back out in the Route 2. This is much better. This is safer, and works well. I do think that some signage of employees only around is important, because if a customer is caught there and they're not going to really back out. What they're going to do is they're going to exit via somebody else's property, because this property connects to the adjacent apartment complex, and that's the way they'll go. And we want to minimize that, and the adjacent property owner can always put a blockade there themselves. And so I think some signage is actually a very good idea that was suggested for employees only around that side. Beyond that, I think the only, if you consider the standards of the ordinance met and choose to approve the plan, we would recommend the 3 conditions indicated, plus the 4th one brought up concerning that employee signing. One is that the easement agreement be registered be recorded at the registry. I do have one question about that, Sean and Costas. Dennis Cross, I believe, is part owner and managing partner of both properties.
He's the chief manager of both properties.
Of both properties. So there are 2 properties here. One is called Cross Family Partnership. That's the one that's providing drainage easement to the southeast and the buffer easement. And one is called College Park LLC. That's the apartment complex on the other side. As long as that's clear, I think it's got to be recorded at the registry, and that it would be good if Mr. Cross signed it as the managing partner, the authorized official for both of those properties, and that should be a condition of the approval. Second condition would be the improvement guarantee. Typically, for this small amount, relatively small amount, it's better, more efficient, less expensive simply to put cash into a town-held escrow account. But they could, if they've got a bank arrangement, the bank could issue a joint letter of credit naming the town as an entity with access to those funds under conditions of forfeiture. But in any case, that it would have to be filed with the town before the building permit is issued. And then the standard condition of compliance with all other state and local ordinances. And as I mentioned, you brought up the idea of the employee, some parking signage about employees to the rear.
Thank you, Evan. Anybody on the board got anything real quick before I open the public hearing?
More than you said earlier.
All right, so this is a public hearing, and we'd ask anybody that have any questions or concerns or comments, or to please come up, state your name, and address it to the board, please. So open the public hearing, and it's a wild crowd tonight, as usual. Any concerns with the conditions that Evan kind of briefly went through with the improvement guarantee and that we're good with that? Okay, good, thank you. It's pretty straightforward. I'm pretty good with what we've heard so far. Anybody got any concerns? Going on the, your last chance. I'm gonna close the public hearing. And do we have a fact to earn my keep?
For explanation to members, Jason and others who are not used to this process,
Whoops, I'm
I
sorry.
draft but do not present the proposed findings of fact until you've all had your discussion and hearing. You should feel entirely free to change, to say that this is not a fact that we have found to be the case. This is a way simply to give you assistance. You can feel free to change, edit, reject in any way you wish.
So, along that same lines, I'll read this into the record, and at the end of each one of the specific items, I'll ask if there are any concerns or questions or comments from members of the board. If you could just, if you're good with everything, just say so and nod your head or whatever. And that's it. And there's 2 pages here, so bear with it. Proposed findings of fact, expansion of Orono House of Pizza, site plan review, September 16th, 2015. Pursuant to Article 6, Section 18-177 of the Orono Code of Ordinances, the Orono Planning Board has considered the application of Pes LLC for a 1,264 square foot expansion of the Orono House of Pizza located at 154 Park Street in a commercial 2 zoning district, and based on all evidence presented by the applicant, reviewing agencies, town departments, and the public, found the following. 1, requirements of the district, that the expanded use is an allowable use in the commercial 2 district and will be located on a legally non-conforming parcel in a manner such that the expansion meets the requirements of the district. Any concerns? Okay, none noted. 2, compliance of the town ordinances and codes, that the proposed use, structures, setbacks, buffers, and layout meet the provisions of the applicable regulations of the town, including all pertinent sections of Chapter 18 Land Use Ordinance. Any concerns? None noted. 3, utilization of the site, that this is an expansion on an already developed site and the plan for the expansion is within the natural capabilities of the site, is located in a suitable area of the site, does not disturb environmentally sensitive areas, fits with the existing topography of the site, and, in part as a result of an easement agreement from the adjacent property owner, can accommodate drainage and traffic movement associated with the expansion. Any concerns? None noted. 4, traffic and pedestrian access, that the applicant has provided adequate and improved access into and out of the site with an existing exit-only driveway and a relocated 2-way driveway on Park Street with safe ingress and egress at an appropriate distance from the existing intersections. Traffic generation is within the capacity of the road system to accommodate it and internal circulation, in part as a result of an easement from the adjacent property owner, allows for safe movement of vehicles and pedestrians. The applicant has made provision for adequate off-street parking and connection to a sidewalk on Park Street, including a new section of the sidewalk with the appropriate ADA transitions between the sidewalk and driveways. Any concerns? None noted. 5, storage of materials, that there will be no exposed non-residential storage on the site. Good? No concerns. 6, stormwater management, that the increase in impervious area and the flow of stormwater from the expansion will be minimal and, in part through an easement from the adjacent property owner, can be managed within vegetated buffer areas and an existing grass swale prior to discharge into the municipal system. Concerns? We didn't specifically talk a lot about the vegetated buffer zones, but anybody have any concerns? Nope, none noted. Good, thank you. 7, erosion control, that the applicant has provided for erosion control during construction, meeting best management practices. I think that was presented in the information we got. Any concerns? None noted. 8, water supply and sewage disposal. That, based on comments from the Orono Water Pollution Control Facility, the Orono VZ Water District, and the Orono Fire Marshal, the expansion adequately provides for water supply both for fire suppression and domestic purposes, and will not overburden the municipal sewage collection or treatment system. Any concerns? None noted. 9, utilities, that no external changes are proposed for electrical or natural gas services presently on the site. And that was in the information we got. Any concerns? All set, none noted. 10, natural features, that the site contains just 0.31 acres, is already developed, and has few existing natural features, but the applicant's plan includes an increase in vegetation in buffer areas and along Part Street. Any concerns with that? None noted. 11, groundwater and surface water quality protection, that the site is not within the town's aquifer recharge overlay district, and the expansion will not adversely impact either the quality or the quantity of groundwater available to abutting properties or to any public water supply system, and that there will be no discharge of materials to water bodies. Any concerns? None noted. 12, hazardous, special, and radioactive materials, that the use of the site does not involve the handling, storage, or use of hazardous, special, or radioactive materials. Any concerns? None noted. 13, shoreland relationship, that the proposed mosque and parking lot are outside,
That was from, I imported that in, sorry, restaurant.
that the proposed restaurant and parking lot are outside of shoreline zones and are not located within a floodplain as identified by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Any concerns beside the mosque thing? None noted. 14, solid waste management, that the proposed use will generate low volumes of additional solid waste, and the applicant has provided for screened storage of solid waste on site for pickup and disposal. Any concerns? Questions, comments? None noted. 15, historic and archaeological resources, that the site is not known to contain historic or archaeological resources. Any concerns? None noted. 16, financial capacity, that the applicant with an ongoing business on the site has the financial capacity to carry out the project, and that the expansion will involve minimal public improvements for which the applicant will post an improvement guarantee acceptable to the town manager. Any concerns? None noted. And lastly, 17, noise and lighting, that the facility will operate within the noise standards and town ordinances, and the applicant has designed and located lighting fixtures so that they will not be a nuisance to neighboring public or private properties. Any concerns? None noted, okay. Anybody got anything in addition to what we just went through that they'd like to add to that? It's not normal that we would do that, but just throwing it out there. Okay, very good, thank you, Evan. Okay, anybody got anything that they need more information on, or are we good to go with this? I think we're good to go, okay? So, somebody ready to make a motion? And I guess just before we do that, just to make clear, we got the following the conditions that Evan provided, and on number 1, we're going to include a comment about that we'd like to have Dennis Cross sign for both Cross Family Partnership and College Park LLC. And there's a new 4th one about the addition of an employees-only sign on the kind of the rear corner of the building to prevent the public from going to the northern side of the property. So with that, is somebody, yeah?
Should that sign also say no exit?
It could.
Should it?
Do we want to make that a condition, or
I'm just wondering.
got any problem with that? No? Okay. And there's a new, oh, that's the 4th one, I'm sorry. I'm running ahead of myself. So, anybody ready to tackle that? You're writing, Judd. You're the man tonight.
I'll give it a shot.
Thank you.
I'm ready for prime time. All right. I'll make a motion that we approve the site plan by Baspas LLC of a 1,264 square foot expansion of the existing Orono House of Pizza at 154 Park Street, tax map 20-1, lot 35, with 4 conditions. Condition 1, that the applicant record the easement agreement signed by the applicant and Dennis Cross for both College Park LLC and Cross Family LLC in the Penobscot County Registry of Deeds, with a copy of the receipt returned to the Code Enforcement Office before a building permit for the expansion is issued. Number 2, that the applicant provide an improvement guarantee in the amount of $5,000 for sidewalk and curb improvements as shown on the site plan in a form satisfactory to the town manager before a building permit for the expansion is issued. Number 3, that the applicant will comply with all other local, state ordinances, rules, and regulations. And lastly, number 4, they will add an employees only / no exit sign on the rear corner of the building to indicate that no one besides employees should go on that back drive. Good enough?
Works for me.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion necessary? Hearing none. All those in favor? Good luck. Okay, next item on the agenda is old business, and Evan kind of reminded everybody that we got, some people have some business back in the back after we adjourn. Anybody got any other old business? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business.
I'll just indicate that we do have another site plan coming in for next month. We expect the application to be submitted by Monday on time. Sorry.
Good, thank you. Anybody got anything else? Anything under 7, discussion? And lastly, our favorite, adjournment. Can we get a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Thank you, that's all right.
Judge, do you have that, do you have the, your last condition, the wording of your last condition written down? I'd just like to copy it.